Welcome back to WD Magic Cast for the week of January 14th, 2024. This is episode 249, WD Magic Cast, the show about the mouse, the Marvels, the galaxy, and beyond. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. And in this week's show, Sir Isaac and I sit down and discuss a few different topics. We will discuss Echo. We will be discussing something with the NFL, possibly, and ESPN. We will find out more about that. And also, of course, the favorite topic of the day, Mandalorian. And which direction is he heading in? And that's not what I mean. We'll be back with this in a moment, but don't forget to check us out on social networks. We are found just about everywhere at WD Magicast on X, Twitter, whatever you'd like to call it, despite what they want to call it. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Make sure definitely check out our YouTube channel where you can listen to that show there as well. So we are wherever you want to be. We will gladly meet you there. And check out our T Public store where you can get yourself some really cool, great stuff, T-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, mugs, jackets, travel containers, throw pillows, you name it. Our logo is on it and ready for you to help support your favorite podcast. And on that bombshell, we'll be back just after this. Sometimes I sit down to do the show and wonder, what am I going to talk about? Sometimes I sit down and do this show and realize I don't have my script in front of me. And other times I sit down with this show and my good friend across the screen from me, Isaac, goes, "Hey man, whatever is cool with you, well, let's talk about it." This is one of those days. Isaac, thank you for coming aboard and discussing a litany of different Disney related topics that are going to span the company in many different directions.
No, yeah, it expand the company indeed because this is going to be a very interesting podcast. It, like you said, it kind of expands more from the entertainment side to the business side. So, no, I'm definitely happy to be on the podcast. Let's get into it.
Yeah, it's I think first let's start off on the Marvel end. And Echo dropped last week. I was hoping that maybe we could do a review of the series. Neither of us have been able to get too far into it, at least for me, not for the lack of interest, more just to the lack of time. I've seen the first two episodes. I've been enjoying it. What have you thought so far? How far are you into it?
And just like you, unfortunately, in the world of adulting, as a lot of our audience members would relate to. Yeah, no. So I had the opportunity to kind of watch the first episode, just kind of see where the new direction of what Marvel's going to take it, because this is really kind of Marvel's kind of true array into mature content in terms of the Marvel universe. I will admit, it wasn't a bad episode, but I will admit the first episode was a bit slow in terms of trying to kind of build up to what they wanted to do, establishing the characters and stuff like that. Of course, in episodes like this, is going to be a lot of recap. So if you didn't really have the opportunity for our fans to watch Hawkeye, I would suggest that you would go into it, but it really wasn't necessary. I think the show did a decent enough job to get the points across into the episode. So when they kind of got in, but I will admit it got into halfway. So it really felt a little bit of a slower episode of trying to kind of build into the character and try to really kind of establish her footing. And there was also some, and another thing I found interesting, like again, was Disney going into it, because this kind of really is kind of the first um Marvel film where you're starting to see that the Marvel, the fantasy superhero-ish side start to bleed more into the street level area.
Yes.
But But other than that, like I said, it was a bit of a slower episode. Not, I wouldn't say the best episode to kick off. Just again, it was a bit trying to establish the character and stuff. But overall, it wasn't too bad of a start. So.
I mean, I know she's not an original character as far as the MCU. She's in the comic books.
Hmm.
But she's, I wouldn't even say B level character, right? She's more like a C level character.
Yeah.
Um, and she's, one that, unless if you're hardcore into the comics, you probably never heard of her because, frankly, I hadn't heard of her
Hmm.
uh, before Hawkeye. And here she shows up. She did fairly well enough, but she, it's a character that, okay, we need to tell you who she is, give you some background. And I found it interesting, and you could definitely tell that they were being a lot more graphic at certain points, with how she became an amputee and stuff like that. And trying to give you the pain and everything. They, like you said, I thought they did a decent enough job that if you didn't watch Hawkeye and you just started with this, you kind of got just the things. Would watching Hawkeye help? Absolutely. But they hit enough of the points. Seeing the second episode, I could tell you they blow things up a little more. And you will understand what I mean by that whenever you see it. But it's progressing. Is it a high octane action show? Not yet. Is it you know, more of a personal story of Echo? Yes. It is more. It definitely feels more personal. Because I think, yeah, by the point that you are at, she should be back to her hometown.
Yeah, yeah, she's back to her hometown. But you also get like flashbacks into her past when she was
Mhm.
living in New York, working with a certain kingpin boss, Will Vix, played by the great Vincent D'Onofrio. I love the fact that they brought him back
Oh, I
uh,
absolutely love it.
as the kingpin. I think it was a great choice to play Wilson Fisk. But other than that, another question is, what did you think about like the action in it so far, in terms of like the fighting and the choreography about it? Because to me, I felt like it was decent enough, but I feel like there were moments where I don't know if you ever heard the term like where you have egg on your face, where it felt like some of the stunt people were just kind of waiting to get hit. You know what I'm saying? Like they were waiting to kind of get punched and stuff like that. I thought the
Um,
choreography was okay. Um, I wouldn't say in the level of like a Jackie Chan or in a Raid. I don't know if anybody's seen that in the film, but it was okay. It wasn't too bad. Too bad in the film.
it was it wasn't anything mind blowing, but it wasn't horrible either. I don't think.
Hmm.
I would, to me, it's acceptable. Like that, um, watching Echoes fight scenes versus, say, Walker Texas Ranger.
Okay, that's very very
I would say
uh
Echo was done better.
yeah. That's an interesting choice to kind of I guess not say apples and oranges, but something to relate to. Yeah, I would say that Echo's fight scenes are a little bit better than Walking,
But well, yeah,
the
Walker
Walking
Texas
Texas
Ranger. Every
Ranger.
episode had to have him
Um,
roundhouse kicking somebody, and getting into a
yeah,
problem because you have a guy like Chuck Norris in a TV show. You're gonna have to have a fight scene in it,
I get
and
it.
the fight scenes were
Man.
mostly like guys standing there. Okay, all right, roundhouse kick me.
Yeah.
Have your beard take me out. It was that kind of stuff. Where this was okay. Yes, it wasn't you know as in depth as one could be, but you're also, I don't know if the actress is how much of her own stunt she's doing,
Hmm.
but you do have to keep taking into consideration her physical limitations. I mean, she's doing a fantastic job of going beyond them.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, she's
But it's not like you got you do have to do some modification, of course.
Of course, yeah. No, I'm not. And again, I'm not expecting these actors to be like groundbreaking martial artists. And I think a lot of these actors do work hard. I think in terms of between like fight scenes, I mean, like in terms of Marvel speculation, I would say it's a little under. It ain't like on like the gritty fight scenes like you get in Daredevil from the Netflix inspired shows.
Mm.
Um, but I would say it's a little under that in terms that you again it doesn't feel as clean as the Daredevil fight scene. So, but it's totally not bad.
No,
But it's
no. I
not.
mean,
It's
yeah, I was still into it.
like again, as long as it helps move the story forward and it conveys something, I'm totally down for that.
Yeah. I mean, let's see here. I have her information here in the Mighty Avengers: The Ultimate Character Guide,
Okay.
updated, expanded version. Obviously, her name's Maya Lopez. She's an adventurer, performing artist. Strangely enough, in the comics, she's based out of Japan. 5'9", 125 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, black hair. When she was a child, it was thought that Maya had learning difficulties. That was proven wrong. However, she was deaf, which is continued into the story, which I think they do a nice job of people having to talk to her in sign language. The actress actually is deaf and an amputee, so that's not CGI. That's not something written. That is actually the actress.
Hmm.
Maya could copy any action she saw, such as fighting or aerobics. She was also a martial arts and martial. She's also into martial arts and a paintist. Paintist. She likes to paint. A
Mm.
pianist. Pianist. Sorry, she likes to play piano.
Irish
Strangely enough.
pianist. Okay,
Yes.
pianist.
Allies, Daredevil and Wolverine. Foes, Kingpin, Silver Surfer, and The Hand. Backstory is when Willie Crazy Horse Lincoln was killed by Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime. His dying wish, which this seems really strange, but sure, why not? His dying wish was for Fisk to take care of his deaf daughter, Maya. Kingpin raised her as his own child and told her that Daredevil had killed her father. Maya swore to avenge his death. She trained in martial arts and took the name Echo and tried to kill Daredevil while Kingpin helped Moon Knight. She was killed in action by Count Nefaria. Interesting.
Interesting. Well, right off the
While
bat,
while helping Moon Knight, she was killed.
yeah,
Supposedly.
they actually change up that origin up for the MCU then.
Well,
Because
they've
like you
done that
said,
before. They've done that
oh,
before
it's just
sometime,
a
yeah.
yeah, no, yeah,
But
because like
not by much though. Instead of
no,
Daredevil,
no,
it was Hawkeye as Ronin.
Hawkeye, Ronin, yeah. Hmm.
And but then the Kingpin still took her on and raised
Oh
her.
yeah, they still kept with those narratives. They only had to change. Again, they had to kind of change one a little bit to kind of fit the more overarching narrative of what the MCU does. But yeah, for the episode, it was again a slow episode. So I mean, it was a little hard to get into, but hopefully, like the episode 2 picks up a little bit better. So
But
we'll get
not
that.
enough to not make you want to come back for more.
No. I definitely would. Definitely interested to see it again. And it's like it's five. It's only 5 episodes, so it's probably
Yeah.
easier to digest. Um, I think it's good, and I think it's okay for smaller tier characters. Like I don't think these smaller tier characters need these 8, 10 episode arcs. Just give a 5. If it does well, then maybe you greenlight a season 2, and then you can span into like a 10 episodes
Yeah,
character.
and this is something they're doing with this. It's a spotlight, Marvel Spotlight, which means it is pretty much its own thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be connected so much with the movies and whatnot. And so far, it really does have that feeling. So it's nice that it's like we said before. You don't have to have watched everything else to sit down and watch this and
True.
try and piece together what things are. Other than you just need to know who the Kingpin is and If you watch Hawkeye, it would help, but
Yeah.
it's not required.
Also, before we end this topic too, I don't know if we ever talked about it in the podcast, but Disney, the MCU also acknowledges all the Netflix shows as a part of its
Yes.
continuity. So now, which is big, which is really big. So we don't know. So there could be definitely some very interesting other characters that could probably hopefully come back. And I think they also mentioned where those shows fit within the MCU timeline too. So I didn't had an opportunity to read up on that, but yeah, Netflix shows are now considered canon,
Yeah.
and that's pretty
I
cool.
thought that was quite interesting. Was it all of them or was it most of them? I wasn't positive on that.
I'm pretty sure. I think every Netflix show was recognized into canon, even Iron
Uh,
Fist.
yeah. Oh, that was the one I was kind of questioning because they kind of, they mentioned certain ones by name and then the other ones they didn't.
Yeah.
But it, they all kind of intertwine together, so it'd be hard to exclude one of them.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because you're bringing Daredevil back in, and it is basically continuation of from Netflix. Um, somebody may have shown up in that first episode of Echo, um, which was appropriate considering the characters we were dealing with. And I won't put any spoilers other than, like I said, someone may have shown up in that. And yeah, that was um, I don't know if we mentioned that, but yes, that is a good point. And yeah, we'll see where they take them from there. I mean, they hired Charlie Cox to
To
bring back
reprise his role.
Daredevil
Yeah.
and um, D'Onofrio to be Kingpin, and which is great because they did such a fantastic job.
Yeah. Yes. I was very excited about that. Um, and fans were a little bit nervous to see how those characters would be handled into the MCU. Again, time's going to tell. So,
Yep,
like you said, one more episodes, and then we have Daredevil Born Again as well,
at
which
some point.
at some point, yeah, all right, yep. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. Um, Next we go to let's go to Galaxy Far Far Away, and we got Mandalorian and Grogu movie announced, which I'm going to go on a limb and say that's not the working title.
Probably not. So what was very interesting about this one was actually announced at CES. I'm pretty sure the Consumer Electronic Show. I think that was announced, which is a little weird. Normally, you think you would want to save that kind of information for like a D23 or even like I know they tend to also do like a big movie con where all the big networks come together. But they announced it at CES. Yeah. So like I enjoy the Mandalorian. When it first dropped, that because again that was like that was one of the big events and big shows that launched Disney Plus back in the
Yeah,
day. Was one of the big events. One of the reasons why people got Disney Plus to see what that was all about, and it was a fantastic series. Series two was even better. Um, uh, Boba Fett, which was 2.5, which was
pretty much.
okay, was pretty much okay. And I heard mixed reviews about Mandalorian 3. So, um, with all that being said, um, I you've gotten used to seeing these characters on Disney Plus that you do wonder um, if you just hope that the story is good enough to warrant like the big screen. And we had a discussion about that, and not just because again you always hope that the story is well, but you also kind of look at the economics. I kind of think about like where the family's at this time in terms of money and you know if you want to go see movies they're not cheap anymore. So
Nope.
And you also don't want to be put in a situation where you're spending that kind of money, and then hopefully the story is just bland or mediocre, or to the point where it's just better simply just to wait only a couple of months just for that movie to go back to Disney Plus and to kind of mix it in. And you also kind of hope if the quality is a lot more better worthy of being on the bigger screen than what they've been showing in Disney Plus. So again, I'm not against them bringing it up to the big screen, but I hope there is something worthy enough to go to the big screen to watch The Mandalorian for. So that's my
I
take.
Yeah, I don't think Favreau and Filoni would take these characters and put them on the big screen if they didn't have big ideas already.
Mhm.
That also being said, they're you kind of known for a while, or it's kind of been knowledge to some extent of people that they were going to be doing a movie. Now, from my understanding, the movie was supposed to be the giant crossover event of bringing Ahsoka, Boba Fett, and Mandalorian together. Um,
Mm.
is that possible still? Yes. Um, all we know is that the production for this movie will be going in, will be starting sometime later this year, later
Oh, that's
2024.
okay.
Um, which is strange around the same time that we were told that season 2 of Ahsoka is in development.
Interesting.
Which that was a little more vague on that.
Okay.
So we're giving pieces of information, but we don't have the full picture of what's going on. I think we know. I think we know less than we realize.
I agree. And I agree. But I think what we do know, and I think another thing too is, um, was Disney's strategy of hopefully showing less is more. Um, I kind of hope that um, they can kind of set it up in a way where you don't need too much back history to be able to jump in, and just for like casual movie goers to just kind of jump in and enjoy it. But knowing what Star Wars is and how deep and rich and how um, I wouldn't say private. I guess I would say very private. Maybe Disney's like, well, this is more built for just Star Wars fans and not much for the casual
It's
audience
more
that jump
personal,
in.
yeah.
Yes, more personal. So more inclusive
Hmm.
than exclusive. Which again, there's nothing wrong about that. So again, hopefully there's something really good. Like you said, hopefully Kevin Feige and Favreau are working together to make a story that is worthy of being on the big screen for either both The Mandalorian and for this crossover they have planned.
Yeah, I don't. Again, and that's a lot of speculation on my part.
Hmm.
But again, obviously, though, I mean, Favreau and Filoni, this is both of them. It's their baby.
Hmm.
I can't see them intentionally trying to do something that will harm it.
I mean, that's never the intent,
10. No,
but
but sometimes it
but
happens
it
anyway.
happens. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we don't know.
um, so we shall see. We shall see. I'm excited. I still think there's going to be a lot more information that we're going to get between now and whenever this is. I don't even think they gave it a proper date other than it's going into production.
Yeah. And
Um,
again, it was announced at CES, which is a weird place to, not to say like other people haven't announced movie productions, but CES was a little weird for Disney out of all companies to
yeah,
make that announcement.
yeah. It's not like it's the Uncharted movie.
Yeah.
So, this is something a little different, but it made the splash, which
Yes,
is
it did.
getting people talking, and that's the important part.
That's true.
Um, so we shall see. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited, but um, and I also wonder if it's one to inject. Mandalorian has brought life back to Star Wars, and now they're talking about trying to bring movies back. If this isn't like trying to do a natural vessel of, okay, we know Mandalorian's popular, let's get a movie going of it to re-energize the movie end of the Star Wars and get it off just a small screen.
Again, it's possible. I just, it'd be nice to get people to hopefully build excitement again for Star Wars back on the big screen because a lot of it has been on Disney Plus. Again, it's not a bad thing, but Star Wars was always meant to be more big screen material, and
Yeah.
that's versus television series. So in that way, I do feel that the brand has been a little bit softened by the Disney going the streaming angle. But you know, like I think they mentioned like a year ago, I think at their Star Wars anniversary, their celebration
Hmm.
about new projects. Like I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about the new trilogy that just finished up, but I am looking forward to like a character like Rey, um, to kind of push the Star Wars story forward in some
Yes.
form, like hopefully like a Jedi Academy, which I think is something I've been always asking to kind of play either on the big screen or even on the smaller screen or some form of that. I think that'd be great. And I think just to me, I like to just to see more stories not so centered within the Skywalker arc, because even though it's crazy to think that, since Star Wars has started all the way up to now, we've still been within the Skywalker arc for such a long time, while books and video games and other form of medias have explored Star Wars in different avenues and have been very successful at it.
Hmm.
So I really hope that those guys can take a look at other aspects of Star Wars. It's not just the family dynamic that we've been kind of crushed in, but there's a lot of things also happening in a galaxy far, far away. So
The universe is
that
very expansive, and we've only seen a small glimpse of it.
correct, correct.
No, I agree. I completely agree, and I understand that. And we shall see where this all goes. Um, yeah, I hopefully it plays out and just makes things bigger and more juicier.
Yeah.
And here's hoping. But Isaac, I have one last question for you.
What's that, man?
Are you ready for some football?
Who isn't, man? Oh, I'm excited for some football, man. Definitely excited for some football. Uh,
We are recording this on Monday, the 15th. So good luck to your Eagles, and we shall see how they fare in the battle.
I hope so. Oh man, yep, I hope I'm hoping they pull it off. That's all I could ask for. But like you said, speaking of what you talked about, yeah, something big is happening with Disney apparently in terms of the so from what I was reading, apparently Disney from Variety saying that Disney may be in talks with the NFL that they could give the league a piece of ESPN. Apparently in that stake. So, I mean, what's your take on that? With that kind of news that's dropped about it and
Well,
the importance
one
about that.
yeah, something they've been doing recently is that they don't want to, and they've all but done said that they're not getting rid of ESPN, but they're trying to figure out how to um fix the dynamic of it and get other parties into it, or more revenue sources. So they've started the
Hmm.
ESPN bets, so you have that going,
Yep.
and trying to inject life back into ESPN. And how do you do that? They're trying to form partnerships, and they said this sometime last year that they were looking to bring in some other interested parties.
Yep.
Um, and one of the The bigger ones out there, at least in the United States, would be the NFL. Um, I've always thought that ABC Media um, and the NFL have had a very interesting relationship because it's to me like the NFL and NBC are like buddies, and then Fox is like, all right, we're just gonna hang out here, and CBS is kind of um, they get involved too. And then hanging back there, you have ABC going, "Hey, don't forget about us."
Well, yeah,
Um,
well, definitely NBC. NBC's been pretty. You would say out of between the two, out of all the four networks, you would say ABC and NBC have been kind of the pretty the standard in terms of having Monday Night Football was ABC, and then Sunday night was NBC to kind of wrap up the nightcap of all those games.
right. Um, and the ABC stuff has always just been Monday night. I mean, when was the last time they had a Super Bowl? It's been
For a
quite
while.
some time.
But
Um,
this, but you feel
the
like this deal can alter that a little bit
well,
now, if
the
you think
most
about it.
recent licensing agreement, whenever they renegotiated this past season to continue Monday Night Football,
Hmm.
um, was also to will give ESPN ABC a Super Bowl in the next couple of years.
Yeah,
So they do finally get a Super Bowl back, um,
it's been
which
a
I think,
while.
yeah, it's been a long while because it's been NBC, Fox,
Hmm.
CBS this year, or CBS last year, Fox this year. I forget exactly how it's going,
Hmm.
but it's been quite some time. I feel that since ABC has seen one. But now they're offering, hey, what, let's see what we could do here to help each other more than just Monday Night Football. How can we help each other
Hmm.
in football in general? And it's like, okay, we have ESPN, you know, well-known sports, et cetera, et cetera. Um, you have NFL Network,
Yeah.
which, you know, is okay.
Yeah.
um, what if we give you a stake of ESPN and we make this more of a family deal? And somehow it's very vague in the article about um, what would exactly come of the NFL network, but it sounds like NFL would somehow now be tied in with ESPN. NFL Network will be tied in with ESPN, possibly even given ESPN red zone rights. That's speculation in this Friday article.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot more of the back library from the NFL Network because the NFL owns all of their footage.
Yes.
Even though you're watching it on CBS or NBC, anything like that, it's owned by the NFL.
Yep.
Um, and a lot of that back library would become available to ESPN and possibly even like ESPN Plus, having access to that because NFL's tried launching their own NFL Plus. I did sign up for it. I looked it over, and I don't have it anymore because, frankly, I just there's no value to it.
Yeah.
That's if you go to the higher tier.
Hmm.
There's really no underlying value.
Right. Yeah.
You get the preseason games. Great. I mean, on the lower tier, you can either watch the preseason games that are already televised that you could watch anyway, or you could listen to the audio streaming of the other games that you can't watch. Well, I'm not. I don't want to listen to it. I want to see the game.
You want to watch it? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Um. So that didn't make sense. And then you go to the higher tier where you could watch it, but you watch it after it's already happened. And then it's only like I said, the preseason games, and it just really didn't seem to have. There's more
Hmm.
to it.
Yeah.
You get some back library of some of the shows and stuff, but it's really restricted to what's available on the NFL Network, and the price point was, I think, around the same price point as, say, like ESPN Plus, where you get, a much larger library and content of work.
Hmm.
So, I mean, now even with ESPN, um, you have Monday Night Football, which sometimes is simulcasted on ABC. You have the Manning Cast, which is hugely popular on ESPN2 that's going on. You do have some stuff online. You got Peyton's Places and Eli's Places and all that through Omaha Productions. Then you also have NFL Countdown and some of the the magazine shows that they have on ESPN. So adding in, I think if you could add in the back content of the NFL library, I think that would be huge for ESPN
Oh yeah,
and also for the
100%.
NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that on that 10. Yeah, no. I think like you said, and I think another thing too, I think that also needs to be considered. And I don't know how, again, this is just speculated. Um, I think it also lessens or maybe it changes the model of television rights because usually how a lot of this how this works is that um, these sports all NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL all will come up every like a couple 5, 6 years they'll go to the table for
Somewhere around there, yeah.
around for to negotiate for more money in terms of television for be able to get the rights in order to host these games, and that's kind of why the league. I mean, like it's not. Trust me, it's not Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell, answers to the 32 owners, but Roger
Mhm.
Goodell also has to answer to the television networks because let's be honest, where we're moving in terms of the world of less cable, people are cutting the cord right now. And the only thing that really brings in viewership is live television, and that being one of sports.
Yeah.
So I also do think, in terms of Disney's eyes, to cut that cost by offering actual stake into ESPN, like you said, because ESPN has been not doing as well in previous past to the point where there was possibility that Disney was willing to let go of it to sell it just to be able to bring back equity onto it. So I think with, like you said, the strategy of now having the NFL, which they tried to do streaming, like you said, it wasn't really successful. Now you already have a library. ABC already has a foundation, or it has that framework where they could just simply slip in and do their own thing right now. And basically, like you said, NFL also and like you said, ABC basically now has is partnered with one of the most popular leagues in America right now. It seems so in the business sense, it does make great sense for them to kind of do it. It makes great synergy. My only issue is, and there's a slight concern, is how much power now and influence that Disney and the NFL could have on ESPN in terms of their showing. And you also have to remember Disney is, like you said earlier, they are involved in gambling now with
Hmm.
ESPN bets. So there is a little bit of that issue of, ESPN does own this, but they also own the gambling site. They're trying to build up their gambling site because they are trying to compete against companies like DraftKings and FanDuel.
Well,
So you are
their
worried
betting
about.
site is
Yes.
through is it DraftKings?
Is it DraftKings?
It is
Or
one
is
of
it
those two.
is it one of those two? Okay,
Yes.
I did not know that. I thought they're stepping into being a competitor. But either way, it still goes in. It's still involved with gambling, and
Yes.
you are concerned about how things can be manipulated behind the scenes. Not to say that is a possibility. But you do have that in the back of your head. Another little concern about with the NBA, I'm sorry, the NFL, is um, the issue of more exclusive game rights being posted onto streaming. And and you do kind of worry about it. It seems like that might be the trend, but it is a concern and worry that say like local fans that would be able to tune in to watch their teams locally. Well, maybe down the road that might not be available. Maybe that just goes into a lot of streaming sites. I mean, we're already seeing, and you kind of concern yourself of now with one of the rivals like Peacock. Only just a couple of weeks ago, the Bills and the Chargers game was a Peacock exclusive. And people had to sit down and buy money for that. And only just a couple of weeks ago, wasn't the actually only just a couple only this past week, I think. The Chiefs and Miami was in it as an exclusive as
It
well,
was this
correct?
past Saturday. It
Yeah,
was the Chiefs in Miami that was exclusively on Peacock,
as well.
which you had to be a Peacock subscriber to be able to watch it.
Correct.
So the first time a playoff game, and the numbers they were saying were huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Which
have to
is
think.
all which is you have to think is also concerning now that people are going to be willing to buy games that would have been available to the public on cable now that you have to purchase. And that is a little bit of a concern right now that even even if you're a Giants fan, that maybe your local games will start moving on to a streaming platform versus a local network. So that is a little bit of the concern about an idea of this partnership happening that I would take into consideration.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, also what Thursday Night Football is on Prime, on Amazon
Yes.
Prime now. It's not
Hmm.
broadcasted on anybody. Um, but I think I want to say, and I could be wrong about this, they make that available to anybody.
Okay.
I'm not positive of that. I don't know if you have to be a Prime subscriber to be able to watch it.
Okay. Again,
But
I don't know because
but
I
yeah,
haven't
it
watched it with
is
Prime.
yeah, well, it's also kind of like the way the world is heading.
Yeah.
So if ESPN can get a
Unfortunately.
foot, further foot into it, yeah, I hear you. It makes it interesting to me on the broadcasting rights of, okay, we have an ownership here, but we do have these other partners to take care of and stuff. So it's
Hmm.
like how that will play out. I mean, that's for Goodell and the owners to figure out.
Yes.
But I think it could work out nicely for both parties.
Yeah.
Because I mean, ESPN has some good rights with the SEC and some of the college sports, as well as the NBA. But that's kind of it. I mean, NBC's got the Olympics, Fox has got NASCAR, CBS. I don't know if they have really any.
CBS has PGA Tour.
Okay, they have the golf, which
They have
that's
golf.
actually strange enough, bigger than most people I think realize.
Yeah. Yeah. Mostly I know the Masters are usually on CBS almost every
Yeah.
year. But no, I totally see where you're coming from in terms of like where streaming is. Again, one of these major sports leagues really now has a say like almost like a partnership with Disney in terms of what content they can bring onto ESPN and the value that can bring. As well, it's good, like I said, it's good for Disney in terms that they instead of always give more money for live entertainment by going that steak route, it's a lot more cheaper on their end. And they work in a partnership where the revenue, like I said, is being shared, which is pretty good. Now, also, I think it's also mentioned, like you said, this still needs to be agreed with the 32 owners in the
Hmm.
NFL before they can even move on. But it's also, and I know the article didn't mention it. I actually did some more outside research. The players bargaining the players association is also aware of it and have been in discuss about the current just because the current talks about how revenue would be shared between the league and the players association because again everything used to be based on ratings and numbers. Stream is a completely different animal and
Right. And
a
we
lot of
found
the
that out with
yeah,
Scarlett Johansson.
yep, and we still don't know too much of the workings of how streaming translates into money and how that revenue stream gets distributed to a lot of that. So there has been talks about it, but I don't know if there's going to be any triggers pulled. Not yet,
Not
anyway.
yet. I mean,
Speaking of,
it did
so
mention that like you said, everyone's got to vote on it, and the owner
mhm,
meeting isn't until middle of spring. I want to
correct.
say it was like April.
April. I think it's
Yeah,
like April in Florida, where when they all
they all
at
gathered
the
together, and
after the I think a month. Is it April? I thought, or maybe even March, because
it
maybe
might
this.
be March. I think it might be
I know
March
it's after the Super Bowl, like
after Super Bowl, before the draft.
before the draft. So it would have to be within March. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, just quick step back. ESPN Bets is partnered with Penn Entertainment, which is a gambling company.
Okay.
Not
So
the other two, but
so there
yes,
definitely are competing against FanDuel and
yes,
DraftKids, which
yes.
kind of goes back to the point about now with NFL being in bed with that even more so than they are with those other two.
How does that all bounce out? How does that translate? I mean, is
Yes.
that something that the NFL would force them to have to give up? I don't know how much of
It
a
could
income it is for them.
and it could get really sticky and
Mhm.
slopery again, you know. Basically how games
But
are, how people are feeling about how these games are and how they're presented,
to
in
the
terms of
point,
that
like I
situation.
said, I mean, not that the NBA has a joint ownership, so no, never mind. Because I would say because the NBA has got some stuff, but they're not
No,
part
yeah.
owners.
They're
They're
not
not
part of
part
it. This
owners,
is
so that's
completely, yeah, this is a
yeah,
different thing right now. Like I
yeah, yeah,
said, usually with sports, when you go like you go to the table, you usually action for negotiating for more money that gets pumped into your league. This is a completely different step. Disney's doing something completely different where they want to get, like you said, the part ownership is a lot more different to, I guess, bring that
yeah,
cost down.
yeah. That makes it
So,
very interesting.
and it makes it
It's
a
like a
little
shared
tricky.
ownership.
It's
Yeah,
very shared ownership, and it makes it kind of tricky too. And you also kind of have to think about it in terms of the other networks too, and how they're going to be treated in that kind of situation. To
yeah.
the
That's what I
fact
was
that
saying
now,
before. Yeah,
like you said, how Disney is offering literally ESPN and coverage and all that power. How does that affect like Fox, CBS, NBC in those negotiations? You know, I don't want to say those companies would get shafted, but you do kind of wonder if there'll be favoritism
it
because
would
Disney
change the
has own
landscape of
planet.
things. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, just by the gravitas of everything, it just naturally would change the course of things.
Hmm. It
So
would
yeah,
it would almost make Disney, I wouldn't say an exclusive owner, but it'd get them pretty close
it
into
would
the rights of the NFL in terms of
it
that
would
partnership.
change. Well, like I said, it would change their positioning on games and stuff. Um, but that would be hammered out in the agreement. I mean, not that Disney will become an owner of the
No,
NFL. They would
well,
just have a mutual partnership and a
and then
vested
ESPN,
interest in ESPN.
ESPN. Yep.
So I don't know. I think it's very interesting, and we'll see what happens. But very interesting topic.
Yeah, no, definitely interesting indeed. Like you said, we'll probably hear more about it in the coming months, and we'll see if this actually comes into fruition. But like you said, if it
Yeah,
is, it is definitely going to change the landscape of how sports media is presented in the country and maybe even the world moving forward.
yeah. Well, I mean, with how everything's just been changing with terrestrial TV and streaming, um, something like this was bound to happen eventually.
Yeah.
So, we're just on the forefront of it all. And
Yep.
I enjoy being on the forefront with you.
Oh man, appreciate it. No, thank you for having me on the podcast as always, man. Thank you.
Uh, Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, sir. And we will be talking again soon. Let us know your thoughts. I mean, a lot of topics discussed here between the NFL, Echo, and Star Wars. Let us know. Join the conversation, like I said, on our social networks, which are all at WD Magiccast. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitter, YouTube, Threads. Find us all there. Leave us a voice message through the Spotify podcast website and be heard on the show. And thank you for joining along. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have these days. The fact that we get to spend some time together means a lot to me, a lot to us here at the WD Magicast family. Truly, truly appreciated. Please let us know your thoughts. Be heard. Share it out on the social networks. Tag us along so that way we can properly thank you. But share a link to the show on your social network so other people can find out about the show and help this family grow. Also, please go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, leave us a rating and review. We have all 5-star reviews on both of them at the moment, but don't want to be greedy, but we need more. The more that people give us reviews and ratings, the more those websites will do to help promote the show for free. They won't ask any money of you. Just go in there, leave us a review, and if you really want to, leave us a review or then the 5-star rating. The more people we have, the better. Walt believes in a big Disney family, so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when new episodes are posted. And if you really want to truly help the show out, become a premium subscriber over at Spotify podcast /WD Magicast /support. Or also go check out our TeePublic store. Again, get some really cool merchandise. You get something in return, and we will get, you help us as well. Reviews and equipment and stuff are not free. Because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. Whatever you're facing out there, whatever challenges are bothering you or weighing you down, don't give up on yourself. You are important. You are special. There's only one person like you out there, and it is you. And that's for a good reason. You mean more to this planet than I think you will ever realize. Let your light shine for the world to see, because you are beautiful. There's no one else like you. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Be your own hero. Never give up. Never give in. Let your light shine for the world to see. And now I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. Of all our interventions for mass communications, pictures still speak the most universally understood language. Again, that's from Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.